Just a quick roundup of your little siesta before the break there. A couple of tracks from Lucas Nelson sounding way more like his father than the last album. In fact, that song, A Few Stars Apart, which is the title track of the album, I wouldn't be surprised if Elton wants to claim against Benny and the Jets. But anyway, as he began the track We'll Be Alright in the lower notes, yes, definitely like his dad. Followed by a terrific song by my friend Dan Rodriguez, and met him in Milwaukee, 10 years ago when he was 62, I think. Anyway, it was one of those occasions at Summerfest. He was surrounded by douchebags, but it was so long ago and he's managed to escape, and he was brushed up and cleaned up by a lovely lady who put the chains on him and I think also threw him a couple of chillin', and moved him to Tennessee where he could be managed. Everything except his hair. Anyway, that's a song called I Got You. This is the guy I was telling you about last week that I was on my way to see at Eddie's Attic. We changed planes from Portland at great expense to be able to get home in time on Thursday. One of many, many excellent tracks, particularly on his recent offering, which has the amazing title, I think, of, is it Lockdown Tapes or Quarantine Sessions, or one of the consistent varieties? I think you should call it the Florentine Sessions. Just rename the file, okay? And then you'll think you're in Italy sitting by the canal. Anyway, a song called I Got You, but he truly is. I jest completely. Truly is a terrific singer. His voice has improved. It was great 10 years ago. It's really knockout. If he comes back to Eddie's Attic, you must go see him. Finally, Czeslaw Kazimierczak. Wow. I somehow walked into this guy in London. It's an album called Stanford. It's kind of jazzy, electronic-ish guitar solo stuff, and it just slotted right in at the end. So there you go. Are you ready for Miss Patti Parks? Because she's not Irish. You can't call her Patty, all right?
WRFG Atlanta.
Good morning, blues. We'll brighten up your day as you put on your shoes. Yeah, yeah. You know it's got to be the way to wake up each and every day on WRFG in Atlanta. Good morning, blues.
Good morning, blues.
Hi, this is Dana Gillespie from London, England, to tell you about the second best way to wake up. Just tune in to UK Bob and his Good Morning Blues show and feel good for 4 hours on WRFG Atlanta.
Good morning, Blues. It's Thursday again, and I'm going to give you a treat because we have a lady on the line who's going to tell us about a fabulous new album, and I'm going to upfront admit what an idiot I am that I've never heard of Miss Patti Parks. Good morning, Patti.
Oh, good morning. How are you?
Oh, I'm great, and I love this time of year because I either hide in the pool underwater because it's steamy in Atlanta, or I escape and go to other places where it's not so hot. So either way, I'm a moving target. So let's first get over the language problem. I know that in America, people love to call someone with your name Paddy, as in D-D-Y, as if they're Irish, but it will automatically be English, as in Patti, with two T's. So I don't know which way you want to go.
We'll do Patti.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Yes, see, now look, we've already injected some class into the conversation right there. So anyway, I've been playing for the last day or two an intriguing new album, and first you have to explain where the title came from.
Well, you know what? I'll tell you what it does. It just totally describes what happened when it went down to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, to record this album, because I left everything that was familiar to me, because I've been recording for a little bit. And, you know, an artist gets used to the environment. It gets used to the players. It gets used to the recording studio. But, I went out of what I know generally, and that probably over time just kind of fell into a hole of just what I always do. And maybe not really challenging myself as much. But then to go to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and, to be picked up at the airport from America's bluesman, Neal, knowing that he's going to produce this album, and then going to a record studio that he owned in a place where he grew up, and meeting a lot of his friends that reside close to that area. But most importantly, getting in that studio and being with, like, world-renowned musicians as far as I'm concerned. That level of musicianship, but most importantly, that community of music. It kind of pushed me to a place that I've never been before in terms of the recording. Because the first album that I had recorded, I should say one like this was back in 2013, and it is, so different than this album. And so after feeling all of that, I said, what, I came up with what I felt. I felt like it was a whole nother world for myself. And, and I was glad that occurred because, like I said, I was doing things that I don't normally do with the vocals. And I was able to deliver the lyrics in a much different way.
So you didn't have a title before you started?
No. And I think that's what's good about it, because the thing of it is I had to experience the recording. I had experienced everything before I came up with the title. And I actually, at one point, I spoke about it like it was a spiritual musical awakening, because in the studio, there's all this memorabilia from the Neal family. So Kenny comes from a whole line of talented musicians, including his sister who passed, and, her portrait is in that studio. And, I sang in a room where that was, and Kenny himself, all through his life, and his father, Raffel, who was a phenomenal master harmonica player. So it was kind of, I was breathing a history that I didn't even know about. And,
wow.
It's really cool.
So to me, that would be intimidating and add some pressure. But, as a non-musician, non-singer, other than the one tape that my sister had of me at 9 years old singing in the bath, that would be really, intense. But I guess at the same time, inspirational. Earlier in the show, I was explaining who you were to people. And I played the opening track of the album called I'm Trouble, which it's this great paced shuffle with this swirling organ in the beginning and horns, and I thought there's a bit of Tina Turner in there, and I don't know whether that would be correct or not. Do you find yourself thinking that? You're allowed to, because she's retired.
Yeah, you're making me smile. The reason why I say that is, there's a song that I sing that everybody knows about, and I only do it randomly, because I've known for it. And, of course, it's the infamous Proud Mary, right? But the funny part about it is the crowd is generally, like, want to jump out of their seats. So I think it's funny that you said that, But, I just think about, do I feel it? But she's got a lot of soul. So, if you hear that, that's all good. That's a really good thing.
Well, that worked, and the proof is the fact I've already explained my ignorance that we didn't know each other, so it's not like I planned it.
Right. So that's really cool, and it's funny because people listen. They'll say, you know what? I hear a little something like this, or I hear this going on, and it could be just the deliverance, it could be the vocal, but you know what? People have often said to me, like, what are your influences? I said, everybody's my influence. I mean, at the end of the day, we all listen to music. We love music, and I just don't listen to, one genre. I listen to everything, right? So I listen to what pleases my ear, and sometimes that comes out, and especially when you're performing yourself. So I'm tickled that you said that. That's really good. I love it.
Well, that means that I really did listen.
Yeah, that's right.
But it's funny because what I like about it is it's a diverse collection: soul, funk, blues. There's all kinds of things in there. I get very frustrated. I have to listen to 40-odd albums a week, and it's grown over the years with this tsunami of plastic that's thrown at you. And you have to weed through a bunch of dross to get to the good stuff like this. And one of the things that makes it that way is finding the diversity and the originality of the performance and the material, the way it's constructed and delivered, so that it's what I call a driving album or a gardening album, if you like. It's not a continuous thing. You don't, have an expectation of what's coming next. There's plenty of variety to entertain you in all kinds of factors. It's not a song that we're going to play, but I did want to ask why the cover of James Brown, It's a Man's World. Is that something that you feel either compelled to do because you love the song, or is that because we still don't have enough equality?
It's both. It's
yes.
both. It's one of my favorite songs, and the message is clear, and it's still, like you had said, it's something we need to recognize and work on as humans. It's we have to recognize that we're nothing without each other, and that's really the premise behind that song. Is that and I don't like to get real deep into it, but I think we all recognize what the message is, and I do feel that it still needs to be sang and driven. It was my own deliverance of the song, which, when you think about it, it has been recorded and covered by other females, like Christina Aguilera, Etta James. But I did have this opportunity to kind of do it my way. And I think that I made it a little eerie at the end of it. I thought it was a little bit different. So it's not this like gigantic set of runs or any of that. But it was just, it's so close I could deliver.
I had a sneaking suspicion. That's why I threw it out there and thought, let's throw the grenade over the wall and see what happens. I had a sneaking suspicion that there was a reason for that, because it's the only cover really in terms of a international hit done by so many people, not so many women for that reason. And I think it's absolutely relevant because where I come from, women are far more equal than they are in America, in England. I'll tell you my favorite throwaway joke, if you like. When you watch a woman who's able to instantly remove her bra without removing her shirt, these people should be put in charge of stuff, okay?
This is true.
And there's things like that. But also, for those of you that run off and buy the album or go looking for her cover, because I'm not going to play it for you, I'm going to make you work for this. Wait till you get till the middle. I think it's about 2.5 minutes in, because it's Kenny Neal and because they can and because they changed it. There's a wonderful guitar-piano interlude that is worth listening to. So, good. That covers that. I was correct in my assumption that you had a reason for doing that. We're going to play people another song. We talked about the song played earlier in the show. I want to slow it down and let's involve Kenny more. And then afterwards, you can tell us how this came about. We're going to play a track now called Baby B. And this time, we don't get enough blues duets. And it's certainly something that I'm big on. But this way, you'll get something quiet to go put the kettle on, make another cup of tea, and just chill out for a minute while we listen to a blues duet that's just guitar and harp, Kenny Neal and Patti Parks, from the album Whole Nother World.
Baby B, please be good to me. Baby B, please be good to me. Say you're much too young to try and fool old King Bee like me.
When I hear buzz around my head, I don't wanna hear buzz when you come to me with a light of shine. Baby, be please be good to me. You're much too young, and a fool, an old queen bee like me. You got honey, sweet as can be. You got honey, sweet as it can be. You must be crazy trying to fool an old queen bee like me.
Hi, I'm calling about the 2-bedroom apartment you advertised. Is it still available?
Sure.
Great.
Unless you're black or Latino or disabled.
Housing discrimination is rarely this obvious, but it's just as real and just as illegal. So if you hear things like,
I can't assign you a handicap parking space,
that could be housing discrimination. And the only way to stop it is to report it so we can investigate it.
If you think you have been a victim of housing discrimination, Metro Fair Housing Services may be able to help. The number is 404-524-0000. Fair housing is your right. This has been another public service announcement brought to you by your listener-sponsored and supported community radio, 89.3 FM,
So the song
WRFG.
Baby B-E-E is from Patti Parks, her album Whole Nother World, featuring Mr. Kenny Neal down in New Orleans, my favorite American city. And I need to find out now because I don't know the answer to this either. You see, there's so many things I don't know answers to, so you're going to have to educate me. How did you guys connect? How did this all come around?
Well, you know, I met Kenny several times, and I have performed in Memphis over time, probably 5, 6, 7 times. What had happened is I actually was speaking at a symposium in Memphis, Tennessee about the healing power of blues. Walter Trout was there, and Kenny was there, and I was there. And that's kind of the first time that we really connected, you know, one-on-one, because I also, you know, sang a little bit in an opening, an opening performance prior to the BMA, and he heard me sing there. But as we go a little bit further, there was a huge blues festival where I reside, and that's really when we started to talk about the project. And so he said, you know, let's talk about some of the material. I had sent him some things I was working on. He said, you know what, let's start from scratch. I'm going to send you some ideas. Let me know what you think about it. And that's kind of how it started. And so what we decided to do was pursue the project. And, the plan was I was going to go down to Baton Rouge where a studio was or is and record it there versus, doing it where I reside in Buffalo, which is Buffalo, New York, Western New York. And so the plan came to fruition. It was great. Of course, it was put on hold because of the pandemic, because we actually started in 2019. But some of the material, off the record, we didn't decide upon until I actually got into Baton Rouge. And the other piece of it is I did not have tracks that I practiced, and was ready with the vocals when I went down, because the music was, recorded live in the studio. And then I sang to the tracks, which was a real positive thing. It wasn't sterile, and I could hear the musicians play, and it just brought me to a whole different place.
That's very typical down there with a lot of famous studios and some that have been built in the last 20, 30 years. And I think that's typical of, South Louisiana musicians. They want to play it that way because they love organic. And I love hearing it that way, and I think the results are always better anyway. But a lot of people aren't comfortable with it. They want to twiddle with it forever. The best example of that is the band The Who. If they make an album, it takes them 2 years to finish it and put it out. It's just, he won't leave it alone, So there's that element to it as well, and I think it's kind of noticeable. So, but I just didn't know how you two connected, so that's interesting. It was fairly straightforward. The beginning of that song, if we were playing a TV show called Beat the Intro, I would immediately hit the buzzer and go, Easy by the Commodores. Did it do that to you?
I don't know so much about that. All I know is when I heard Kenny's vocal from the first note, set the whole story of the song. It's like that richness in his voice kind of set me, I'm thinking, it kind of made me want me to close my eyes and maybe be in backing track for a movie, where I'm starting to, think about what that story is, and how it would play out, in my mind. And that's kind of what it did for me, because Kenny's got this really rich, soulful, talk about organic voice. I mean, it's like, wow, where does it come from? And then, of course,
it's great. And the song ends up being, the song ends up being nothing like that. It's that first piano drop progression, 1, 2, 3, first 3 or 4 seconds is exactly the same, and then it goes off somewhere completely else. It threw me. I think they're trying to trick me. They're trying to make me think it's somewhere else. So I need to know I need to know where this voice came from, because you're one of those people. Do you know who Sass Jordan is?
Yes.
Okay. I felt the same thing when I downloaded I was actually in London, downloaded it to my iPad, and just to listen, nothing else. And I start hearing this. Then later that day, I flip over to the one sheet to see what's on there, and I went, wait, no, this can't be the same thing. Surely not. Because you're one of those people who looks nothing like your voice. And I know that's crazy and it shouldn't be that way, but as a non-musician, that's what I do. And Sass Jordan is exactly the same. Where did, how tall are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 5'3".
See? Where on earth did this huge voice come from? It's like you're a female Steve Marriott, from Humble Pie. It's like...
You know what? Everybody says that. That's so funny. Everybody says that because I'm kind of a meek and mild person when I'm talking too. I'm kind of soft-spoken on top of it. But, once I'm on stage, I don't know what the heck happens. Or when I'm singing, I don't know. Maybe it's from my other life somewhere. I don't know, that wants to come out. But the only time that I feel like super emotional or spiritual or in connection with self is when I'm singing. And I know that sounds, I don't know how that sounds to your audience, but when I'm singing, I'm just present. Like I don't even know what's around me, and I'm so connected when I sing. And we don't always get that when we're having a conversation generally with people, right? We don't expect to get down deep and, get into that inner self. It doesn't happen generally in a conversation, even with people you love and like, right? But when you're singing and you're delivering lyrics is when I think the real you comes out. But
yeah, it's not just the song or the lyrics. The fact that you're singing it and you're presenting yourself in a whole different manner. I obviously know a ton of people, and yes, so many people are very different when you're sitting having tea versus 10 o'clock on Showtime. Yeah, so I totally get it. But yeah, I wanted you to know that I was very conscious that this dynamo of a voice just kind of booms at you out of nowhere. Going to play another track, and I'm going to ask you more about you, and I think I have a potential idea of why your voice has such reach on a whole nother subject that you're into. So I'm going to leave you intrigued by this as we play the last track on the album, which is bringing the pace back up again to a mid-pace song called No Means No. And we're going to talk about that too.
Your fingers got your eyeballs doing your dirty work, moving around my business like plowing Georgia does. This ain't no help yourself sign. You might think you're saying he's one strong, deep feeling, badass human being. So before you get familiar, a little lesson in manners ain't gonna kill ya. No means no. You got that, Joe? Well, there's the door. It's time to go. No means no. We'll take it slow. If I want more, I'm gonna let you know. No, no, no means no. Yeah, yeah. Don't take no Albert Einstein. Get what I'm talking about. Turn on your radio, Aretha spells it out. If you're old enough to drive, you know what I mean. The light is stuck on red till I say it's green. Whatever you're anticipating, trust me, sugar, it's worth the waiting. No means no. You got that, Joe? Well, there's the door. It's time to go. No means no. We'll take it slow. If I want more, I'm gonna let you know. No, no, no means no. I'm drawing the line, not to be crossed. It's my body and I'm the boss. Keep that in mind when you get excited. It's only a party if I say you're invited. No means no. No means no. No means no.
This is John Cleary from New Orleans, Louisiana, and you're listening to UK Bob, the Good Morning Blues.
So we're playing a brand new release that I just got a hold of called Whole Nother World by Patti Parks, and we are allowed to spell it that way because my English school teacher is long gone, and she can't slap the back of my hand anymore. But I got this idea because you're going to have helped me fill in some blanks because you're a mystery. You're like, I tell people that life in London was fabulous and all the groovy, crazy stuff we got up to. And the beautiful thing was it all happened in the 70s and the early 80s, and there's no evidence anywhere, okay? Because there was no internet, no phones, etc. So same thing with you. I don't know where you came from, where you've been, and why you just kind of popped up on the screen. But maybe it's something to do with my theory as to how you're able to grow that voice out of the middle because of your involvement as a nurse, and you have to shout at patients.
Yeah, there you go. Over time, look what happened.
Well, I know it's not a school teacher because I'm married to one, and she does the complete opposite, and it works. She speaks incredibly softly and very elegantly, and if they're not listening, they don't know what's going on, so they have to shut up, you see.
You have to listen. That's right, exactly.
Yeah,
you know
so
what?
you say you're a working nurse, or I found out from someone you're a working nurse. I don't know how I know that. But you also have spent 5 years on a platform supporting the combination of, I guess, what you would call musical therapy for self-esteem. Would that be accurate?
You know what? It's a portion of it. What it basically is, you know, my focus were those that are suffering from chemical dependency, and especially adolescents. Because in our area, which I think we're not unique, especially during the pandemic, there was such an onset of, you know, use of chemicals, and a lot of young adults and children overdosed. But prior to that, we still saw a rising amount of you know, individuals that were, you know, where it's just taken their life over. So I thought that it would be a good way to help individuals trying to surpass that and to a point of normalcy, to use like the blues genre as a vehicle or a stepping stone to sort of help them and catapult them to a different place. Because, you know, it's not always easy to talk about things, and it's not always easy to write them down. And with music, sometimes, just like I was speaking before, how things just come out when I'm singing, that can happen with musical, they call them musical intervention. So I don't do that therapy. I have a board-certified music therapist who creates the therapeutic intervention, but using the blues genre that mirrors music. So what is that? Well, it's reflective of resilience and survival, sometimes funny as well, storytelling in nature. And whatever that lesson plan is or therapeutic plan is, it could be a variance of things. And I've seen it with girls that are on rehab centers that are 13 years old. It's a very powerful, and, you know, we have probably served about 1,400 people at this point.
Well,
and the pandemic
huge.
was
That's
worse.
absolutely,
you know? Yeah.
That's absolutely huge. Are your involvement then is, do you have nurse qualifications? Is that how that began? Or?
Do I have nurse? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
So are you a qualified nurse or anything like that? Or?
Oh, yeah. I actually master's prepared nurse. Yeah, and I will go and see how the program is. You know, I'll take a look at the therapist and engage with what's happening, you know, with the clients and making sure we're on point. But it's, you know, it will continue. And with the pandemic, we were unable to actually get to, you know, the rehab centers because of the isolation, you know. So we will continue with that. And, yeah, I mean, it's just an incredible eclectic program.
Well, as you know, in England, we worship the NHS, the nurses there, who support the whole country. Anything from, you know, a hangnail to a heart transplant costs you nothing. And the nurses there that run this and have suffered greatly through the pandemic are worshipped because their dedication to the job is the only reason it worked. It's not because they make big money or anything of the kind. And it's just so alien to the way things are done in America, where you can't even check in after a car wreck until you give someone a credit card. It's all about the money. And yes, you have the option to go to different doctors, et cetera, but it's just such a different world to me. No one thinks about money because there is no bill. It's free. It's paid for in your taxes. But what they had to suffer for the last 12 months, there was a period where every Thursday evening, everybody in the UK would stop what they're doing and clap at like 6 or 7 o'clock or something like that. So the whole nation was clapping for the NHS nurses. And it's a very sensitive thing to us. And I think nurses in the US, I'm not saying they're treated badly. I'm saying they're treated lesser than because they're just like paid laborers. It's a terrible thing to say, but that's the way it looks to me. I'm incredibly fortunate that I've never spent the night in hospital here, but I've visited many that have, and I just don't think there's respect. And that's going to tie into the song that we just played, because you actually mentioned, I think, In No Means No, which is another very relevant current affair scene that's developed more so during the pandemic. You actually think when you refer to Aretha, which means you're referring to the respect for women, right?
Yes.
It's a big deal because, as we spoke earlier in terms of equality, I think this pandemic has potentially put women in harm's way because there's what I call COVID aggression built up. People are contained. They can't release. They can't escape. They're trapped in homes. Relationships that were maybe a little shaky or weren't suspect were soon found out when you're in lockdown. So is that what prompted that song?
You know, I think I can't say that it was totally related to that. I think you hit the nail on the head by saying respect. And, you know, the message that some individuals may think you're delivering when you're being yourself, you're being a woman. And some of the lyrics says, it's my body and I'm the boss. And it's really important that because perhaps I'm dressed a certain way or acting a certain way does not mean something else. It is not an invitation. And so that's how that song is. It's very simple, the lyric, right? But what a powerful message.
Oh, yeah.
And it is about respect. It's about equality. It's about respect at the workplace or any other environment. You know, I should be able to be who I am without worrying about anything else. And so I think it's you know, there's some cool things. The lyrics are really cool in there. And that was written by two really great songwriters, you know, Derek Purcell and Terry Abramson, who's written a lot of stuff, like even for Shamika Copeland. So that's an original tune. But getting back to your point, that's why I selected that tune. I love the message, and it does talk about respect. And
but it's a great way to close out the album with something that has some punch if you're listening to the content and should stop and make you think. Because it's been a big subject in recent years that should have been a lot more years earlier. A lot of things were taken for granted and weren't brought to the surface. And we've got to continue to fly that flag to remind people that, you know, not to make assumptions and that there are borders, and no means no. And that applies not just to the scenario we're talking about, but to a lot of other things. And it's a shame that we still have to do that, but I'm hoping things as a result have or will get better. And that's terrific that we finish off an album with something with some punch. So well done.
Oh, thank you so much. I really love talking to you. This was great. And I hope that your listeners do take a chance to listen, because I think they might enjoy it. And they can write me back and let me know how they feel, too.
Well, they have to, because I gave them some homework, remember?
That's right.
James Brown, I've got them forced, scribbling notes frantically. We've got to go find this song. What are you talking about? What don't we know, you know? Oh, it was a lot of fun to have you on the phone and tell us so much more about you and this album and how it all came around. And it's just so nice to find something that diverse that mixes up soul, funk, blues, and that little powerhouse voice coming out from you is so worthy of everybody putting it in their ears as oral entertainment. But it's something that hopefully you get to do on stage, and maybe even down south, even though you're a long way, and I know a lot of artists stay and work up in the areas they're in, but, it's only a 2-hour flight away to come down.
Yeah,
would you please bring some of that snow with you?
Oh, yes, I know. You're sizzled. Boy, of course. We'll bring some cold for you right away.
Oh, that's terrific. Well, Miss Patti with double T's, thank you so much for giving us some time and telling us all about Whole Nother World, which is, I guess that must be out on Kenny's label, which I seem to recall is it BOOGA Music or VizTone?
Yes, BOOGA Music and VizTone label group, yes.
I got it right. You see it. Guys can get it right once in a while. Anyway, terrific. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and you take care.
And now for a Public Affairs Bulletin Board announcement. The Housing Justice League fights for renters and homeowners in Georgia for housing justice. If you are facing eviction, unfair fees, or bad living conditions, you are not alone. For information about your rights, the Tenant Power Hotline at 404-946-9953 for information about your rights and support to build power to fight back. To learn more about the Housing Justice League or to sign up to volunteer, the hotline at 404-946-9953 or the website housingjustice.league.org. That's Housing Justice, LEAGUE.org. Public Affairs Bulletin Board announcement from your station for progressive information and hand-picked quality music. WRFG 89.3 FM, WRFG.org.
The gypsy woman told my mama before I was born, said, you got a boy child coming, he's gonna be a son of a gun. He gonna make pretty women scream and shout, and the world's gonna know what it's all about, 'cause you know I'm here. Everybody knows I'm here. I'm your hoochie coochie man. Everybody knows I'm here. I got a black cap on, I got a mojo too, I got the John the Conqueror. I'm gonna mess with you. I'm gonna make all you women lead me by the hand, and the world's gonna know I'm your hoochie coochie man, 'cause you know I'm here. Everybody knows I'm here. I'm your hoochie coochie man. Everybody knows I'm here. 7th day, on the 7th month. And 7 doctors.
Two kids get busted, one of them's broke. That poor kid go to prison, but the rich kid don't know. It shouldn't be a crime to be poor. It shouldn't be a crime. It shouldn't be a crime to be poor. No, no, no. Poor folks go to prison, and rich folks get forgiven. Lord, it shouldn't be a crime to be poor. No, no, no. Steal $1 million, you might pay a fine. Steal a pack of gum and he will do hard time. Oh, it shouldn't be a crime to be poor. It shouldn't be a crime. It shouldn't be a crime to be poor. No, no, no. Poor folks go to prison and rich folks get forgiven. Lord, it shouldn't be a crime to be poor. No, no, no. Don't matter if you're guilty, if you can't make the bail, you get that public lawyer and you're going to jail. Oh, it shouldn't be a crime to be poor. It shouldn't be a crime. It shouldn't be a crime to be poor. No, no, no. Poor folks go to prison, and rich folks get forgiven. Oh, it shouldn't be a crime to be poor. No, no, no. Fish without a license, get cuffs on your wrist, kill the whole river and its case dismissed. Oh, it shouldn't be a crime to be poor. It shouldn't be a crime. It shouldn't be a crime to be poor. No, no, no. Poor folks go to prison and rich folks get forgiven. Oh, it shouldn't be a crime to be poor. No, no, no.
Some real blues clergy for you there. Kicked off with the Reverend Sean Amos, son of famous Amos, Hoochie Coochie Man. And that's one of those albums that's just been played and played and played for the last 2-3 months. The cause of it all, Reverend Peyton's Big Damn Band and A Crime to Be Poor from Dance Songs for Hard Times. Led us into the last piece of the show. We're going to go rockabilly. I figured we'd have everything else. Let's do that. This will close out the show. So I'm going to tell you now, the James Oliver Band from somewhere between Birmingham and Manchester, I believe. He's got an EP out, and I think this is one of those tracks. The only thing I lack is a Cadillac. And I thought it was very apt that Mr. Brian Setzer has released. I could be a compilation. There could be some extra new bits in there. I don't know. But it all rolls in there together, and I will see everybody bright and shiny next week for... No, I'm not going to tell you.
Well, I got the style, I got the hair, I've even got the rockabilly underwear. I got a band and we like to play Welsh rock and music all night and all day. The only thing I like is a Cadillac. The only thing I like is a Cadillac. I used to drive a Ford, but I got bored. The only thing I like is a Cadillac. Cruise around the town in my automobile, listen to my music at the wheel. And if it's so fall, it just won't go. I tried to scrap it, baby, but they said no. I send it back. The only thing I like is a Cadillac. The only thing I like is a Cadillac. Used to drive a Ford, but I got bored. The only thing I like is a.
Well, I'm just at school and I'm real, real cool. I got the jump, I got the job, I got the message. I'm a wild one. Ooh, yeah, I'm a wild one. I gotta keep it shaking, gonna keep it moving. Don't you cramp my style, I'm a real wild child. Come on, baby, shake it all night long. I shake it till the meat come off of the bone. I'm a wild one. Ooh, yeah, I'm a wild one. I'm gonna keep it shaking, gonna keep it rocking. Don't you cramp my style, I'm a real wild child. All night long, a lot of shaking going on. I'm a wild one. Ooh, I'm a wild one. I'm gonna keep it shaking, gonna keep it moving. But don't you cramp my style? I'm a real wild child. Sun goes down, 'cause I have the dog, I can really get around. Come on, move around, and it can be hot. And when we start a bobbing, we sure can't stop. I'm a wild one. Ooh, I'm a wild one. I'm gonna shake it, shake it, shake it, gonna move it, move it, move it. Don't you camera my style, I'm a real wild child. Don't you camera my style, I'm a real wild child. Don't you camera my style, I'm a real wild child. Gal is red hot. Your gal ain't doodly squat. Yeah, my gal is red hot. Well, she ain't got no money, but man, she's really got a lot. Well, I got a gal 6'4", sleeps in the kitchen with the feet out the door. But my gal is red hot. Your gal ain't doodly squat. Yeah, my gal is red hot. Your gal ain't doodly squat. Well, she ain't got no money, but man, she's really got a lot. All night, talks all day. She's the kind of woman who will have her way. But my gal is red hot. Your gal ain't doodly squat. Yeah, my gal is red hot. Your gal ain't doodly squat. Well, she ain't got no money, but man, she's really got a lot. She's the kind of woman who lounges around, spreading my business all over town. But my gal is red hot. Your gal ain't doodly squat. Yeah, my gal is red hot. Your gal ain't doodly squat. Well, she ain't got no money, but man, she's really got a lot. She's a one-man woman, that's what I like. But I wish she wasn't gonna change her mind every night. But my gal is red hot. Your gal ain't doodly squat. Yeah, my gal is red hot. Your gal ain't doodly squat. Well, she ain't got no money, but man, she's really got a lot.
Saying you got something for me, something you call love, but confess you've been a messin' where you shouldn't have been a messin', and now someone else is getting all your best. These boots are made for walking, and that's just what they'll do. One of these days these boots are gonna walk all over you. Lying when you ought to be truthing, and you keep losing when you ought to not bet. You keep saying when you ought to be changing, yeah. Now what's right is right, but you ain't been right yet. These boots are made for walking, and that's just what they'll do. One of these days these boots are gonna walk all over you. You keep playing where you shouldn't have been playing, and you keep thinking that you'll never get burned. Ha! I just found me a brand new box of matches, yeah. And what she knows, you ain't had time to learn. These boots are made for walking, and that's just what they'll do. One of these days these boots are gonna walk all over you. Are you ready, boots? Start walking.